To go. Here we go. We're live on the Metal Lab. I gotta stop doing silly intros. We are live this week. It is episode 140 of the Metal Lab. I am joined this week as a duo show once again with Mr. J.
Hello.
And of course, we're spending a lot of time talking about the upcoming Canada Cup. And we finally compiled a little bit of our favorites from the Mighty Thor set. So that's a lot of the time is going to be spent talking about. But I do want to take a second to remind everybody, and I'm going to do this a lot today because it is coming up this Saturday is the Rock Canada Cup. And I unfortunately don't have the stuff I needed up, so I'm delaying a little. It is a super qualifier level tournament for the Rock, but it is slightly offset by the fact that the you know how usually your qualifier is up a level basically. So if like for states, for a qualifier level tournament, you don't get automatically qualified for semifinals. That makes sense. But for a super qualifier, you would. And then like states, it's kind of moved up a level. So you get, in this case, a qualification to the final in first place, along with your other standard Rock super qualifier prizing. If I remember it correctly, and I am quoting it correctly. Yeah, it looks like a super qualifier. Good. All right. But important details. It is a Saturday, at 11 a.m., and that's Saturday, September 16th, for those of you who might be watching this in the archive. I got a Facebook group up where we got some information on it, so we'll just pull that up. It starts at 11 a.m. I'm guessing the tournament's roughly starting at 12. Jay, your judge, do you know this?
I would assume it's supposed to be starting an hour after that. I think. I don't know.
All right. Well, hopefully we got some details down here. Registration time is 11. Tournament starts at 12. There we go. Boom. All right. It is at 401 Games, Toys, and Sports Card Store, 518 Yonge Street, Toronto, Ontario. Folks, for those of you unfamiliar with the store, it is a very wonderful, big store. You walk in the front door, and there are board games from as far as the eye can see. It's quite the beautiful thing. And what's most important is that there's a little door to the side to the right. That is their gaming area. You'll go up a set of stairs, and that's where the gaming area is. Or ask the staff while you're in there. They'll kind of point you in the right direction because you also pay for and play in the upper level of the event or of the store. You can get your tickets in advance. If you actually check in the description below, I have put the information there. So there's its registration time is 11 a.m. Admission is $25. Pre-register by the link below to enter a raffle for a $50 gift card as well. So if you pre-register early, you get a chance. You enter into a raffle for a $50 gift card at the store, and the prices at the store are very good. So you will get you'll be able to use that gift card quite remarkably, to say the least. And of course, there's some more on this Facebook group that have the things. Unfortunately, it looks like the head judge, Amber, won't be in attendance as we've run into a babysitter issue. So I don't know if Jay or Glenn are taking over that seat, but Jay and Glenn are really great judges. I've seen them in action. And you know what? Let's be brutally honest. All judges right now suck. that's not a shot at Jay. I'm a terrible judge right now. Amber's a terrible judge. You're a terrible judge. Glenn's going to be a terrible judge. And the problem is that we're on brand new rules. So we have to deal, and these are going to be the guys who are making the hard decisions for us. If we don't like the rulings, unfortunately, we have to deal with it. Be patient with them. This is like the first big tournament that we're looking at with these new rules. And it's going to be a little bit of a slog for the judges. So guys, do your best to come in with the rule books in hand and read if possible, and with your powers and abilities cards handy as well, because those things have a lot of information. And of course, we have a link here. Check your new rules. Check your Rock rules as well, as they'll be slightly different. And keep your hands on your current up-to-date rulings, especially those team abilities. Those things have changed. So just thought I'd share all that with you initially, and then I'm probably going to plug that a couple more times throughout the episode. But I've talked at length. Jay, how's your week in HeroClix been?
I missed my usual Thursday at 4:01, unfortunately, but it seemed like they had a really fun kind of scenario based around a whole siege thing that would be very interesting, I would think. Cool. On Sunday, I ran prep for the Canada Cup, basically. So that ended up being me actually playing the games because of the number of players we had. I had a Magneto-based team, or Chase Magneto, which was him, using his X-Men trait to make Overdrive an X-Men. Then I had a UXM Beast at 60, who would be better suited out, mostly for Peggy. It just does the whole Overdrive and make attacks after being carried nonsense that we are so used to these days. So that was a decent little team. I played against Kyle in round 1, who was playing Jakeem and Aldrodan both possessed, as well as a 10-point Carnage, 300 even. Some bad dice rolls on his end. I ended up being able to take him out. And also, some new rules are just so annoying, like how it used to be that you used to be able to Colossal Retaliate and then do stuff, but he forgot once or twice, so he retaliated, so he missed the timing for Jakeem and his entities, so he had a naked Jakeem, basically. So, yeah, new rules. We got to get used to them. They're very important now.
This is keep going. I'll do my thing afterwards.
Yeah. So yeah, new rules. Read them. Then I got the buy, or I took the buy, and then in the last round I played Mike White, who was running a team of Maestro, and he ended up bringing in Blood Axer to pick up that game, as well as Aldrodan, Surtur, for a ruler +3 theme team generic, as well as the invisible jet terrain because of how it interacts with characters that destroy blocking, because Maestro can move through it but not destroy because of how the intricacies of the interactions work. So he ended up taking that one because he had a better swing than me, basically, with his TK plus charge and whatnot. And then at one point I had Magneto with he was supposed to have a 13 attack because I rolled I had a round table, obviously, or teleporter. He wasn't saying round table, no such thing. I rolled the Power Girl inspiration for him, which was +2 for close attacks, and I forgot it, which meant I missed some very key attacks. So that could have maybe put the whole game in a different thing, but I don't care because I'm not playing at the Canada Cup. So I lost that game, and that's fine. Still, it's good. Yeah, and I was a little sad that 4-1 ran out of Thor packs because I really wanted more of those things. But we had mentioned maybe that they would try and get more because we're going to be running some battle royales hopefully after the cut for people that didn't make it in. We have a lot of side events actually, just some pick up and play games or battle royales or a specific scenario based on named characters and generic characters because of all the generics we have now. Like with the Undead set, having half of them being generics or all of them in Thor. So it's going to be a fun time at 401 games.
As for these side events, are they all constructed?
Except for Battle Royale, yeah, a bunch of constructed side events too, yeah. So bring your casual teams.
Okay, and where are they going to find information on these? Just so that, they can come in with the right
Oh, yeah. Those are all in the win under 401 games, and I can send Jason the pages for those individually or just 401 games in general, whichever is preferred.
And at some point, you'll see it in the description below.
Yes to that.
Do that. All right. Myself, I finally got a chance to play some Thor Sealed this week. This Saturday, we delayed our Sealed at the Comic Warehouse a week because last weekend was Fan Expo, the big comic convention in Toronto, and that is where a lot of people go. I mean, we're all comic nerds apparently, so who knew? As a result, this week was our Thor Sealed, and it was an interesting set to say the least. I made a weird decision that equal parts didn't pay off because in my sealed packs I did pull the super rare Hulk, but both of my packs in my common slot happened to have Thenas. So I had 2 Thenas that I had pulled. I could not resist the urge to play 2 Thenas and a Sif on my team. It was too much not to do. So I ended up playing that. My first round was against an Odin Destroyer, and because my opponent had put us on that Jotunheim or whatever it was ice map, not Jotunheim because that's a big snake. But anyway, it was it's basically a big thing of ice that doubles knockback, etc., etc. Because we were on that, and the Odin Destroyer is either a giant or a colossal, I was able to shoot at it at all times, and those things have 7 range with the potential to +2 perplex, right? So, whoo boy, was I ever able to run around and hit him. Though there were a couple of turns where no matter how many dice I was rolling, how high I made my attack, I just couldn't seem to get some hits, so I got a little nervous at one point. My second round against a favorite player of ours, Mr. Sharif, he also had an Eternal-based team, and he had Ajax and what's this? Makia?
Makari,
that's what it is. Sorry. So it's Ajax and Makari. And Ajax is able to use probability control. You can also use it twice as long as the first person who took probability control was an Eternal. Well, he had 2 Eternals on his team. I had 2 Eternals on my team. No matter how high I made my defense, he had enough prob to hit like a 12 if he wanted to. So suffice to say, I did end up losing that game. And in the third round, I played against another player who happened to have a Hela. And what was the other? It was a Hela, an Ulik, and a Throg. And I just kept the Hela out of the 7 range that I had the advantage on. And when Power Cosmic, when her Outwit was showing, my Power Cosmic stayed. So I just kind of tried to hit those dice, and I kept my Invincible I tried as hard as I could to keep my Invincible because of Hela's Mystics. So in order to get around the Mystics, I just popped at her while I had Invincible. So I was able to laugh at the penetrating damage she was trying to throw at me. All in all, it was a fun set to play sealed. It's weird to go back to the days where you look at your sealed pool and you're not building with both your packs. Because I had a 3-figure team, right? And it's just like, Sif has Flurry and couldn't hit for the life of her. Let me tell you, in this tournament, I think I made with her about 7 attacks in the tournament. Couldn't hit a thing. Of course, got some trading, did some stuff. Amber pulled a Maestro. I pulled a Hulk. So that we needed both of those figures for our Super Rare collection. Great to get those. And I managed to trade for a Mangog. So I now have one of those in my possession, though you'll probably never see me use it because lately I'm kind of stuck on a team. I'm sorry. What can I do? But all that said, once again, had a lot of fun. Amber, as you saw, posted our game that we had that she had with her daughter. We are now teaching our 8-year-old daughter how to play HeroClix with the brand new set of rules, and we're hoping that turns out pretty good. But if you do happen to go in those videos, keep the comments clean. We do want to avoid having to disable the comments, so let's be mature about it. But if you can't be mature about it, we'll just disable the comments because this is what our kid is on. So just wanted to throw that out there for the internet, as it were. All right.
Yeah, actually, I watched that game. It was pretty good to see the learning in action.
Yeah. It's always neat to see what a new player in this game looks like sometimes. I'm not sure if our store is running a Sidekick Night event yet, but I've seen some pretty good ideas already going forward for it. But that said, let's get to Thor. And last week we spent a lot of time talking about Undead. We finally had a chance to consume, to look at, to munch on, to look into the future of Thor, and kind of take our guesses on what we think, what we like from the set. We're going to be choosing our top 5 figures, and I'm going to let Jay take a lead on this one. Jay, and we're going to go one by one. So Jay's going to start with his number 5. I'm going to do my number 5.
Okay, full disclosure.
Adds more mystique to it.
Yeah. Full disclosure, I've played every figure on this list except for this one, but I've seen him be played last week by you, so I've seen it in action. It's the clone Loki, because, wow. It's like they said, hey, let's make that character again, except as good as all of the other ones combined, and then still make him more awesome than that. Like, holy hell. The numbers and the 10 attack, 1 damage in cap is but for a 0-point character, if you can dedicate those actions just to do that or just move to be annoying, that's fine. And an 18 senses shape change on a character that can either be missed after all that or pop out more or score you 0 points is just wow. And he's kind of scary once he hits that stop click too, with Psychic Blast, invulnerability with a stop click, so it can't be counter ignore or whatever, and Outwit. So overall, just the most annoying version of Loki since the con exclusive.
Awesome. My number 5 is because I like saying the character's weapon. It is the unworthy Thorn, figure number 65, because his weapon is called Yarnbjarn. No, actually, I actually had to switch that at the last second because Jay took my number 5. So
that jerk.
I did have a lot of fun playing that Loki, to be brutally honest. And it is such a fun character. The incapacitate does pay in dividends, and it does slow your opponent down a lot, especially if you can start hitting them. Is an important element. Plus, if you get a couple super shape change rolls off while your opponent is trying to attack you, and you get some extra Lokis, now you have extra characters to make attacks with, so you can allow your other characters to take a little bit of resting, or not push or clear action tokens as you need. So that was kind of a cool thing. Also, an aside before we get a little further, Jay, I'm not sure if you caught this. Have you seen the new wording on Quake?
How it says adjacent?
It says strict adjacent now. I don't think it works with Giant Reach the way we thought it did in that game.
I think it's a confusing wording. I can see it being interpreted either way. I've had this question asked me before.
You see, and I can see why you can think it's confusing, because it allows a close combat attack against all adjacent characters. But prior to determining you're making a close combat attack, it gives you the strict modifier of an adjacency, which is why I kind of don't see Giant Reach working with it anymore. And specifically with the old rules where it said explicitly can attack any character this character can make a close combat attack against. So
I can see it being interpreted either way. I don't know what my opinion is, but
I think the strict use of the word adjacent as a placement versus, because Giant Reach, you can use it to make a close attack at a range, but because you're using Quake specifically and it explicitly says adjacent character, I don't think the two work anymore.
I don't know.
Again, this is, hey guys, guess what? Judging is hard now. So I don't know. Maybe we have to get a question up there for the rules team.
Yeah, there's been a lot of rules questions recently that are like, that's how the rules work now? Okay. Like, apparently crit miss damage is at the end now, so if you're, like, flurrying, you take it after...
After the flurry.
Yeah, and I think the same thing with Mystics, maybe? I can't remember.
Yeah, I think Mystics explicitly says after resolutions, though.
Yeah, I can't remember off the top of my head. But, yeah, a lot of wordy changes. Like, Beta Ray Bill and ID cards did not get ruled the way I thought it would.
Oh yeah, because they start their turn, but they don't start the turn.
Even though that's not how it was worded or were ruled with Mystique. Maybe she's worded a little differently.
Maybe they just don't care about Mystique anymore.
Yeah, because with the retirement, we're probably going to see all the pre-new style cards get out, so they're already like, eh.
Yeah. All right. We've gone on a bit of a tangent, and as we can see, there's some stuff going on. All right. So we move now to, what's your number 4, Jay? What is your number 4 for the Thor set?
Is just such a trolly figure. She is just so rude with all the shenanigans she does, and that's Enchantress, because holy hell is she hard to hit between stealth, reflexes, and 2 out of 3 odds of shape change because of her equipped weapon, as well as a figure being able to just free move your opponent's figure. So she just so much stuff. Like, she can unbase your figures from your opponent's figures if you move them the right way, or just set up a good shot, or just so much shenanigans to be had with that figure. I feel like she's just on the cusp of being able to do something really nasty.
Yeah. Now, we had a question about this the other day. Kind of stemmed an argument, and I'm wondering if you know who gets to move the character.
The wind ruled that it's the controller of Enchantress.
The wind. When did the wind rule on it? Because I checked on the weekend.
Just yesterday.
Oh, it was just yesterday. Okay.
It says all opposing characters within 6 may be moved in 1 square in any order you choose. I don't see how it could be interpreted any other way.
Yeah. Well, I can, because it doesn't explicitly say you move the character.
It says you choose the order, though.
I choose the order in which characters are moved 1 square. Do you see where?
Order. Oh. Oh, okay. You're
Not
right.
yeah. You see what you
Right, but
see.
yeah, the win did rule. I think that it was the Enchantress player, which I would think is the intent. I don't know,
Mm-hmm.
but that's what they ruled.
Yep.
Yeah.
Fair enough. I mean, again, it's one of those things they said all opposing characters in 6 squares may be moved 1 square in any order you choose. And because, generally the owner of a figure moves a figure or does anything with a figure unless it explicitly states, like mind control does. That's why it can get a little confusing, right?
With the whole scourge ruling now. uh,
Yeah, there's. Oh, man, new rules, right?
mm.
Again, these are the minutia, though. This isn't big picture stuff. This is little picture stuff.
Yeah, I'll reiterate my thoughts on the new rules, which is it's the same game, but there's just a lot of intricacies,
Yeah.
little like very fine nuances. So, what's your number 4?
My number 4, as I delay and delay, is actually Thor Odin's son. I like him a lot. I think he's pretty cool. And I'm not usually one for big tent pully dudes, so that makes it a little bit more weird that Jason is choosing this one. I talk about myself in the third person very rarely. But the fact is that his title character ability allows to make a ranged combat attack after you've already made one, if I remember correctly. Single opposing character with a range attack this turn. After resolutions, once per turn, he may make a range targeting a different opposing character. So I can use that hypersonic that he has, make a range attack at a shorter range, get out of the way, and still within my 7 range, blast him. So it's pretty cool. He's got and his stats are just so meaty. 12 attack with a 4 damage and 19 defense is really cool. 7 range is really good. He does fly. He's indomitable. And of course, because he's a title ability, he's awesome. If you take some damage and you have another Asgardian, keep him and that Asgardian alive by healing 1. You can heal 1 of and be incredibly irritating with one of your Lokis that happen to be small points. It's very easy to lose track of, by the way, which Loki's which. I found that out the hard way when I was playing it. Someone's like, which one's the right one? I hope all the Lokis I have up front are the right Loki. Oh my gosh. I used to do it with multiple man, but multiple man it was whatever. If it happens, it happens, right? You get more of them if he does get hit. So that's kind of encouraging it to a degree. With Loki, you just want to roll the shape change, and if you fail it, you take all that damage. So but yeah, Thor Odin's son sits at my number 4 as the character I definitely want to try a team with. It may not be now. It's definitely not going to be at the Canada Cup, that's for sure. But I do want to make some use of him. Very cool character, and very interesting ideas can come from him. What is your number 3, Jay?
This is the only one on the list who was like, I think he's like on the fringe of the fringe. Like, I don't know if he has a future. It just really depends on stuff. But it is the Chase Odin, because he is nasty on every single click pretty much. I would see his lower points being used more often. The Crimson Hawks bystanders are pretty effective. They can pop them off at a very decent rate. Just giving a plain buff to all your Asgardians can be good, especially in these days when we have a lot of them, including Retaliators. I think there are 3 Retaliators with the keyword, so that's good. Trade Leadership's always good for that +1 to make your Pogs not be as annoying to your action totals they could be. And in the world where you can't just call him Green Arrow post coming retirement, that is one hell of a stop click. And then when he heals onto a 12 pulse wave with 4 damage. So yeah, I feel like there might be something here in a future at some point, but definitely not right now because Chase Green Arrow is like, wait, hi, bye.
Or
affirmative action. Oh my god.
Yeah. My number 3, and it's probably more people's number 1s or 2s, to be brutally honest, is the Unimind. He's an interesting character. I'm not going to deny him that. His mechanics are really cool. The effectiveness of it all is really great. But your choices on him are 1-man army or 5-click 150-point character. who is very susceptible to our friend the Green Arrow, as we said. In fact, the Green Arrow just has to range combat expert into his damage and one-shot this dude.
I mean, assuming he doesn't pick a defense power.
I mean, when it comes down to it, all the other ones are mostly just reducers anyway. And, I mean, the clicks he's on after the fact, he's got to stop click late on. That's about it, right? So, in the short, I like him, but I don't – and this is the thing, is I'm saying all of this is to why he's number 3. That's my top 5. He's still really cool, really effective. And like you said, he could possibly survive. And the fact is he's got that 10 range with 2 targets, right? I mean, that's what has that now, right? Nothing has a 10 range right now, which is bonkers.
Except for like Mistress Death, yeah.
Mistress Death, who wants to be making close combat attacks anyway.
Yep.
Falls into my later discussions. So yeah, number 3 for sure. The Unimind, as there's potency in there. I can't personally bring myself to put the points per click value that he does bring. So, all right, we're getting to the top there, Jay. What's your number 2 favorite figure from the mighty Thor?
My number 2 is a figure that WizKids was like, you know what we should do? We should just make a figure and then we'll give it a second dial. But you know what we're going to do on top of that? We're going to give it the best support dial we've ever made in the game. So I'm naturally talking about Chase Loki because, wow, for the 80-point investment, it's kind of like they're good numbers there. But I don't know if what she does is competitive necessarily, but I feel just like the numbers you get and the potential for the support, and when you lose the Scarlet Witch Child, that click that you get with 12 attack, 18 defense impervious, and the shape change and perplex prob for 80 points, there's just so much potential there. And there's a potential 13 attack mind control with a prob. There's something here. I'm not quite sure what. And even just, I don't know, an 80-point call-in piece that has perplex and prob once you get to those clicks. Yeah, I don't know. I feel like I'm going to try and make her work. I've tried to make her work before, but it's going to happen. Somebody better than me is probably going to do it first with a team that's just too obvious that I should have thought of. But yeah, very solid number 2 there for me.
If you ask me, this is a character that falls into the limited format just good. And I think you might be onto something. Just as a character that doesn't necessarily need a specific team. Sometimes, like we've seen that team, I think it was Devil Dinosaur with Mephisto and a Mr. Mix's Pitlick, I think, as well. Like, that's a team of just good characters, right? And I think there was something else on the team off the top of my head that I can't quite remember. But I mean, those characters are all so good, and like just because they're so good, they kind of excel at what they're doing and fit into just a team. It doesn't necessarily have to require a build around it. I think the combination of powers that Loki's got there can take you a long way, and I don't think it's a far stretch to think I might be able to use this character in some manner. So I'm jumping on your bandwagon there. It's an interesting character. But my number 2 is a little closer to my heart, and unfortunately has spiked a great deal in price for what I call no reason. Okay, I call it no reason because I want a lot of the figure, all right? And he's going to wreak what his namesake is on the battlefield. It is Carnage. But the only Carnage I give 2 flying poo-poos about sits at that 10-point dial. A single click. It's terrible defense, but a great attack with 3 damage. And when he does attack, as long as he hasn't killed the guy, because that's how adjacency works, you drop a symbiote token adjacent to the character he just attacked. So if you pick your targets correctly with this guy, you can go in, attack a guy, drop a symbiote there, and then you can attack with that symbiote because you haven't taken anything that's a costed action, or it's been a free action. That's it. Doesn't count towards your action total. So you drop that attack. You drop that token. That token now attacks, and you got other things you can do. You can walk away safely with that Carnage, as you can make that attack from 3 squares away, sidestep away, and then move another 6 squares. So the Carnage itself is safe from that 16 defense being the thing that kills him. You can also safely run 2 of them for 20 points. And since he's not unique, that makes that option viable. As well, you can actually use his stats as his Colossal Retaliation. So if you happen to choose to perplex up his damage, you can increase the damage he's dealing outside of whatever his power is. So all in all, a great Colossal Retaliator, and hits my number 2 for a major reason is that it's very easy to create as bystander tokens. That's one of the things a lot of people are like, you like things that create bystander tokens. Why aren't you picking all these other guys? All these other guys require you either dying, losing your own figures, or killing other things. So if you're not doing those things, you're not getting anything. That's more work than, say, Carnage does, where it's you get attacked or you get damaged, and then you throw Carnage and a bystander token on in your opponent's face. All right. We're hitting there. We're there. We're at the finale, the number 1, and Jay's got a comic.
That's the comic.
Is that Scourge?
That is Scourge
That's
Prime, everybody. That is just what a figure that is. Just the numbers and every stat, attack, damage, range, defense, the 7 clicks, just, oh my God. Just the annoying factor, the comic accuracy, the being a figure that's okay to do what it does because it's a prime. Just everything about it is just perfect. I love this figure so much, and I feel like there is definitely competitive potential there with just the undying factor as well as the cost, where he can call in pretty much anything you need in the competitive game. Really. So even if he's not attacking, or if he gets into that middle dial with willpower and he wants to push, oh, well, maybe I'll just call on somebody better, because you can now do that and push on an ID card. Just there's definite potential there, especially with all the undying we have now with Haha Joker, and very good competitive future for Mistress Death. So we're definitely going to see some action after him. No doubt that he is my favorite piece in the set.
All right, cool. My favorite piece of the set, and it's all about game manipulation and outside potential. And that is that dead fly. It's Mjolnir. And it's not even the Thor that comes with Mjolnir, it's Mjolnir itself. For those of you unfamiliar, Mjolnir allows you to make a close combat attack with range and line of fire. And you got to think about how many effects you look at and you go, my gosh, this character's got such a great range. It's got this cool effect, but that cool effect only works at long in base-to-base contact, whereas I need it to work at range. And Mjolnir allows that. So, I mean, a lot of people are already talking about the potential combination of Mjolnir and Death, and that's just part and parcel of the bonkers outrageousness that's it's just around the corner. I mean, so Death makes an attack, a close combat attack from 10 squares away. You're now taking double damage from anything that knocks on your door. Night. And just the amount of potential in that alone, and it's just insane. It's just absolutely insane. So it's a good thing. There's a Colossal with Sinestro. Imagine Sinestro was able to get armed with Mjolnir and then make his Colossal Retaliation from 10 squares away.
Well, Mangog would be impossible to stop.
This is why, ladies and gentlemen, that only standard characters can be equipped. Oh my God. Do you have any honorable mentions that you maybe didn't bring up in this, or figures that you thought could have made the list but didn't quite make the cut?
I guess Beta Ray Bill. I wish they hadn't ruled him the way they did, because wow, that is just such a terrible nerf. I really wanted Thunderstrike to work competitively, because those just the raw stats. But like I said when he was first previewed and we talked about him, just because he has raw stats doesn't mean that he does anything that's competitively important. But his hammer is going to definitely see some play. Super Rare Hulk is a really good new Shield Level 7 call-in. And if you have a character 150 or whatever points, that could be really good. I don't know why nobody's talking about Wrecker's weapon, because I'm just going to read it off just to clarify. It says exploit weakness, period. When this character attacks, hit characters that can use invincible or impervious using vulnerability instead. Those two clauses are not related. You can have a 10 range character who's somehow chucking that crowbar and stopping those defense powers. I haven't seen any talk about that. I don't know why.
Make your 10 range character a Banshee.
Yeah.
That's
everybody's Banshee now. Yeah.
Thank you for giving away my limited strategies.
Sorry.
It's all right. I actually, that only became a limited strategy the second you mentioned it. But of course, another important viable limited strategy right now is looking like Mr. Nobody. It's like, my team is now 400 limited for the Rock Cup, right?
Yeah.
So it's now a 345 point team featuring Mr. Nobody, who will eventually be propping anyway, so it's all good.
Yeah. Do you think, now that we have the full set and we've had some time to digest it, do you think that there's anything unbalanced or that anything that might get nerfed, watch listed in the potential future?
I don't see watch lists in the set. I don't see.
Not even Mangog?
I don't even think Mangog. Because the best way around that is to not attack until you're halfway down the board.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Mangog's tough, don't get me wrong. He's a 30-point Colossus Retaliation. You got to be very careful about triggering that or allowing it to be triggered. But honestly, I think you can get around it well enough and not you can do enough to your to avoid it occurring in your starting area. The only problem that I see with it is how much damage potential it has on the attack. Because that one kills me. The fact that it could potentially do 7 damage. Mm-hmm. But both attacks have to hit. You know what I have a habit of doing? Missing. So, it's one of those situations. It's like, well, if it hits, it's amazing. But I think he has like a 10 attack on that click.
Yeah.
So it's harder for him to hit than it is for him to get hit.
Yeah. The only other concern figure, or I guess game element I have in this set is the Mjolnir itself, because that Mistress Death interaction alone, I'm sure there's other figures that are just so ridiculous now with it. Like, purely on her own, without Mjolnir existing, Mistress Death is pretty much balanced. Has to get within just a punch. But this just says, you got to punch, but you can be from basically across the map. It's okay. You can do whatever you feel like. And I'm sure there's going to be other figures in the future that kind of giving any figure like that kind of essentially giant reach. I don't know if that could be balanced with all the future stuff and all the past stuff.
Again, this is probably one of those situations where, like, well, we're just going to force players to play Mr. Nobody for a little while.
Mm-hmm.
It's a shame the limitation of being TK'd and then using TK still exists. So I like picture in my head all kinds of ways to get around this by TKing a character up and then trying to TK an object, their object away from them, because these things aren't immobile right now. It's so.
I don't even think immobile is going to be a thing in the future, is it? Isn't it a past? I don't know if it's referenced in the current.
Yeah, I'm not 100% sure on that either.
Yeah, I think the only modern one now was the symbiote.
Okay. Canada Cup.
Yeah,
that was the last one. Well, I mean, but that's only a couple sets of in the past, and it looks like a pretty immobile type thing. The thing is all of these are, you can pick them up, right?
Mm-hmm.
So.
Yeah, but yeah, this is my favorite set in just, I don't even know how long. It's so good. I don't know if that can be reiterated enough.
Okay. All right. So next up, we're going to talk about the Canada Cup, which is coming up on Saturday. Again, 11 a.m. At 401 Games. And it's one of those things. It's the newest form of the meta right now. Thor is just out. Ideas are pumping. Inclusions are going to be in there, and I like having the judge here as well, because for a number of reasons. One of which is, as a judge, Jay, 2 questions. One, what do you expect to have to rule a lot on, or what rules do you think are going to trip people up the most? And B, what are you expecting to see, and have you been prepping your rulings for them in advance?
I've been trying to keep up with the win as much as possible and familiarizing myself with all these new characters that use new language. I think one of the bigger problems now is going to be Nick Fury because of how outwit works now and how protected outwit works now. I'm seeing a lot of people thinking like different weird things, like thinking that basically characters that like should obviously have protected outwit don't. Like they think people thinking that Casey figures wouldn't have protected outwit now, or that because Nick Fury does what outwit does now, protected outwit protects against Nick Fury. So like all that stuff, I feel is going to trip people up a lot. And I feel like with all the equipment that we have now, I feel like there's going to be some confusion as to how it works with possessors or just equipment rules in general, or just all sorts of confusion. I know there was a lot of questions locally, or one person asking about Hydro Man and how he works with Frogolnir, because that's a whole confusing nonsense shenanigans. I feel like a lot of it's going to be tied into equipment kind of stuff and outwit mostly, as well as people. I feel like a thing that's going to be not so much a question as an awe kind of moment is the thing I mentioned before about how beginning of the turn works now, or how people are going to maybe think they can do end of turn actions that they couldn't do before. Like, figure takes damage at the end of the turn, like Super Skrull, and he could use Perplex at the end of it or whatever, like that sort of thing. If that happens now, I don't know if it will, but the beginning of the end turn stuff will be trippy uppy, especially with now, because we had Jakeem, whose picket power was beginning of the turn, and now we have Al Jordan, who gets paired with him, who has as a free action. So the difference is now, when you're playing 2 characters that are kind of the same but still different, I feel is going to be tripping people up a bit.
Mm-hmm. What about the ID card?
Oh god, that's just a whole bag of yeah. I don't. Some people are gonna think that ID cards aren't gonna use real names, so they're gonna be like, "Wait, you can use Cosmic Spider-Man." Other people are gonna be like, "Wait, you can use it after you used your ID card after moving your overdrive to do your Sam Cap to do the thing." And other people are gonna be like, "Wait, I can shifting focus and then do no action after taxi, right?" There's so many, yeah.
Hopefully people have caught up. If you guys do have questions about a lot of what Jay has said, any updates to the rules are now posted on the rules page under the heading, what is it, the change log? So right under the comprehensive rulebook, there's a change log underneath that lists all the changes to the rules that they've made thus far. I know myself as a player, I am really looking forward to using ID cards differently. Maybe doing a few more things before possibly using the ID cards and lining things up. But as you said, there's some interaction changes that are massive to the beginning of the turn. A lot of folks, in regards to the way that the Justice League teleporter works with it now, one thing to remember is that you know how that little number shows up and you can refresh that card and etc. You can't do that at the beginning of the turn. So you can't play an ID card, roll the die, have that turn up, and then put the ID card back all in the same turn. You got to wait now until that next turn because ID cards are called out during the action phase.
I'm going to keep a very close eye on Tom for that because he's the king of doing that.
Well, and that's the thing. When I was playing against Tom, it came up, and I was like, I can't do that. And one piece of advice, if you are planning to go to a competitive event where you're taking it kind of seriously and you're trying to get flow, because flow is an important element. Second you've taken an action, now for sure, the second you've taken an action of any sorts, you are no longer at the beginning of the turn. I am going to warn my opponents for the first little bit on that, but you got to be careful of that. I can't stress that enough. And as a player, I can't suggest more than enough. Say the words, beginning of the turn, what are my effects? then move to the action phase of your turn. Do that in order. It's important. It's something that got me through Magic the Gathering and got me to be a better player as well, is naming out my phases. In Magic the Gathering, they have like 6 phases of a turn. So it's untap, upkeep, main phase, combat, second main phase, end step. And you say it out loud when you start each one. So in this, beginning of the turn, action phase, end phase. And you just remember that what actions or things you've had done. It helps you. It helps your opponent. It helps everybody. And eventually, it will become second nature again. You won't have to keep repeating it. But because it's such a change and it's a new thing and the new way it interacts, it's important to note how you're thinking going into this. I'm also looking at seeing how people react to the new hotness. And are people just going to bring equipment? Are people going to try to put weapons on Jakeem Thunders? Or am I going to see some new strategies with weapons? It's going to be interesting to see what comes of what's ahead. And I can't wait to see some of the great new ideas that players are coming up with for this event, to say the least. I myself, I am not changing my Quebec team very much, but there are enough changes to it that it's going to function a little bit differently. So like instead of having an onboard Atom, I have 2 Carnages. And instead of having a sideline Atom, I have a Nightwing. I still have an Ameridroid. I still have an Algerdan. I still have a Double Dinosaur. And I still have a Penguin. I'm still rolling that strategy, and I'm still going to keep trying it, see how I can make it work. But yeah, we'll see. We'll see how things go with this. And for the most part, hopefully I do well. If not, I mean, I have my seat in the semifinals at Rock Cup. It just means I have a little bit more work ahead of me, and it's going to be a little bit harder for me to sit on the commentary table the whole weekend. All right.
Yeah. If you're going to the Cup and have questions, you just message me on Facebook or HRLs or whatever. Just get it out of the way, so we don't have too much time at the day of. Just try and do it in advance.
Mm-hmm.
I don't mind answering questions. And I would like to say that if I was playing, since I don't think Thunderstrike is going to be that common, I feel like I would be playing my Joker's team again if I happen to be playing. I have full confidence in that still.
Cool. Also worth mentioning, if you're planning on going and you happen to be a patron, give Jay a ping on the patron Discord. If you want to get in on the patron Discord, all you got to do is check us out at patreon.com/marriedwithclicks. We have 3 tiers in which you can donate, and any of those tiers gets you access to that patron Discord, as well as our patron hangouts that we have once a month. We just recently had our September one, and we're planning our October one around Rocktober. So we'll see as details come about on that one. We could very well be doing it on the Friday night, and just hanging out with everybody, see how we've all been doing throughout the weekend, and chat with our patrons. But once again, patreon.com/marriedwithclicks. If you want to support us directly, any little bit of help is appreciated. For the July and August patrons, your action tokens are in the mail. They should be here very shortly, along with my beautiful Carnage tokens. And we look forward to getting those out to you guys soon. All right. And for those of you still interested in the Canada Cup, once again, 401 games in Toronto, 518 Yonge Street, Toronto. There's information in the description below, both for the side events now and for the what's the word I'm looking for? And for registration detail and side events. Registration details and side events, all in the description below. Just check out the links to 401 games in there. All right, Jay, anything else before we get into the fan questions?
I don't know if you wanted to mention the new solicitation for the new opens, or that's something for later.
Is there a solicitation for it?
I think it's all up now. It's basically new round of opens. All the prizing is X-Men based. Looks pretty cool.
WizKids opens?
Yeah.
Does tournaments coming?
Yeah. Yeah, it's there's Colossus ID cards, bunch of different prizes. I think there's a Age of Apocalypse Kitty Prime. Kitty Pride is the highest level prize. There's like a a Black King and a Forge and all sorts of X-Men related prizing. So they're kicking up the X-Men hype, and they're kicking it up hard.
I'm guessing this is on the win, isn't it?
It might be. I don't know. I think it's supposed to happen around November.
National, regional, special events. I know there's winter one, Road to Worlds National Championships. Is that right? No, that's not right. Is it? Chinese Hero Clips Nationals? Nope, that's not the one.
Yeah, I don't know, but around November.
Yeah, I know. I know
the
there's one that the store in Quebec has announced is November 4th in Laval, Quebec. I believe the store, what was it? BD Cosmos is the name of the store?
Yep, in Laval, yeah.
Laval, Quebec. I haven't been. I don't have details on it. It's definitely 300 modern.
That is what it says. Yeah,
that is what the thing says. So it's not sealed this time around. I got to arrange, I guess, the trip down there somehow.
Yeah, same. Yeah. So if you're an X-Men fan, get ready to do that stuff. It's gonna be fun.
That's cool. And WizKids Opens are always a ton of fun. Always worth the trip. Always cool to hang out with more.
Oh yeah, the sheer level of prizing is unbelievable.
I meant the people you get to hang out with, but okay. Gonna be that guy. I mean,
I think that's it as far as new information, and whatnot. So I think
awesome,
fans.
Then it's officially time to put a stamp on this episode because Mr. Chris Stockhouse, the maker of this beautiful rubber stamp, that I swear one day, and I keep saying this, and I'm going to be a liar forever until I do it. This rubber stamp, and I'm going to get ink for it eventually. But he does go on to say, "Good luck with Canada Cup. I promise to head up to Canada one of these days. You owe us. We've been down to the States how many times now, Jay?
Many. All of them.
Try not to have it so close to October next year. Blame Mike Payne for that, who unfortunately couldn't join us because of a loss of his poor little doggy. All right. So did I try my Space Leo team too early? With all the new Thor objects, people have to be considering Space Leo just to possibly stop entities and deter players from picking up their objects. Are you guys expecting to see Space Leo? He's not half bad with Brainiac on him as far as being a secondary attacker goes. And we do, like Jay has suggested in the past, better suited with Teleporter if an opponent does have anything to take away. Thanks, as always. I do like the idea of the better suited strategy over the arming him with Retaliator. I've tried to use it with Amber. We couldn't get it to work. But yeah, right now it's still a gamble. In the future, and I think he's still going to be there in the future. He is going to. Oh yeah, because Space Leo was part of the same set as Shredders, correct?
Yeah, set 3.
Yeah, so they're going to be in the next modern where these weapons are going to be everywhere. Just going to be everywhere. So that meta Space Leo is going to have his day. The thing you still got to remember is you do have to win. You have to win that dice roll, if I remember correctly, to get rid of their items, which means you are below 50% of that, and you don't get a re-roll or anything on that. So just pay attention to that, because I think you lose a tie in that case. But Jay, what are your thoughts in that case?
I wouldn't play him without better suited, and I would not play him with better suited as well as a Brainiac, because the new rules say your replacement stuff falls off. So yeah.
Well, I figured you wouldn't be doing both. That would be an insane investment.
In past rules, it would be theoretically possible, but I figured it was worth clarifying now, because that one I have not seen been so talked about, even though it is kind of a big deal. Like, we did see Shifting Focus Deadpool with Possessors before, so.
Oh, gross. All right. Sorry. So Amber's got this disappointed look on her face because apparently Storm now works with Superman.
Wait, what? I don't understand what that means.
I don't either, and I'm trying to figure it out. Anyway, on that, before I move on to the next question from Facebook, if you guys are watching us live, check us out in the chat and put in capital letters question ahead of your questions. We'll get it through in a second. Superman. All right. Storm Smoke Cloud. If I use Smoke Cloud in the previous turn to place hindering terrain under my Superman, will I still be able to use full speed charge after removing the marker? Yes, Superman will have begun the turn occupying hindering terrain, because you remove it, I guess, at the beginning of the next turn, right? Oh boy.
That's a big change. Beta Ray Bill one is a big change
Yeah, we've talked about the better rebuild one. Guys, get on the win. Win.wizkids.com/BB is a quick way to get to the rules forum, or just get through there through the win. Just click on the rules forum. Keep an eye on some of this stuff because there are some weird interactions coming up right now. Amber, stop making faces. I'm trying to answer fan questions. All right, next up, Christopher Smotherman. What fringe figure do you think will show up at the Cup? I've been looking at a piece that stops Cosmic Spidey in his tracks, and that would be Nobody from TMNT Series 1, played with Alan Scott GL, of course. What any other fringe pieces you think will show up or you would like to see on a winning team? I would also love to see someone use Elseworlds Robin Chase and do well, but I guess we'll see. Jay, you're the fringe king. What do you think is going to show up? Actually, if you consider Thor as fringe right now. Ain't nobody using it yet.
I don't want to give away my article that's coming up for this week. I want to see somebody pull off Rachel Cole Alv because I feel like her dial itself could be competitive. I just feel like she's like a little overcosted, just the tiniest bit. So the soldier keyword now is not bad. There's some stuff out there to work with her. And between her trade and all the equipment now, there's a lot of stuff you can throw on her, throw on other characters to make them awesome. And that revive trait, especially if you threw a peace machine on her, would make her take like 3 solid hits to take out. So I don't know. I feel like there's something there with her in particular, and all the options for extra stuff you can put on characters now. I think that's about it for fringe figures I can think of off the top of my head because I'm vamping while Jason's busy elsewhere.
Interestingly, and this seems to be setting the precedence, Poison is allowed to, if you can bring out the Carnage Gwen with him, you can do that because it's the beginning of the turn effect. And it's also in the same beginning of the term effect as removing the ID card character now. So if the ID card character has a beginning of turn effect, come the next turn, they can trigger that ability. Amber's giving me the wow.
Wait. So so in the past we had the beginning of the turn phase where you could do stuff. And then we had the actual beginning of the turn phase where you rerolled Faust D20, smoke went away, ID card characters disappeared. So
that's all the same beginning of the turn now.
So I can, like, let's say, I can do stuff. I can, like, if I have an ID card character, I can poison, get rid of my smoke clouds, and then get rid of them now?
Well, no, because poison is still an action now.
No, not poison. I can, if they have a thing. Like, if they have a thing
if they have a thing that says at the beginning of the turn, yeah. This is the way they're ruling it now.
So the whole beginning of the turn is an actual one thing now, not like 3 different things anymore. That's
it's simple.
Okay. I'm glad that the win is stuff's happening and they're clarifying stuff because I would not have thought of that myself. So I'm gonna have to be very attentive to the win this week, coming up to the Canada Cup and making sure that I have full battery on my cell phone for looking all this crap up the day of. Yeah.
The critical miss thing for everybody who's surprised by that is in the rulebook. Resolve the attack, and immediately after resolutions, deal the attacker 1 unavoidable damage. The resolutions themselves don't occur until after the action is done, and that's why you don't take the flurry damage until the end of the action. That makes sense, actually. Resolution
the problem
seems to be
was
stronger now as a definite end of the action.
Yeah, the problem is that was another one of those little nuances. I was actually trying to like look through my rule book and like highlight or like underline anything that was new and different, but the type is just too small. Like you can't underline anything without just overlapping on other words, so it's not easy to All
right. But as to get back to Christopher Smotherman's actual question as to how to deal with Cosmic Spidey, I mean, a lot of the time, if they have that Cosmic Spidey option, they also have the Sentinel or the Shield option. Like it's one thing to just say I can counter this one thing. Do you counter the rest of what they got? Right? I mean, it's very simple. I know I do. I have a habit of doing it. I put Hulks on my Shield ID cards all the time as an alternative. Especially if I see Green Lanterns on the other end of the board, it's like, well, Guess Hulk is part of my Shield ID now.
We have 2 good options for that now, so why not?
Yeah, exactly. And they can break through more than one blocking terrain easily. So.
Mm-hmm. And we also have, I think you're just better off if you want to deal with wall busters. I think that, what's it called? That Colossal Wonder Woman for 15 points. Yeah.
Just gotta walk through it.
Yeah, I don't think nobody's quite good enough, though, unfortunately, with those.
And that's the other thing is, what is nobody doing after that? What are you doing with nobody?
You're existing. Job nobody.
It's like, yes, nobody stops Kaiser Spider-Man from attacking him. I didn't want to attack him anyway. He's nobody.
Oh, God, these jokes again.
All right.
I remember somebody actually thought that because his trait says nobody can use
nobody can use that way. Because it's not. I can't remember. It's not Mr. Nobody. It's nobody.
Yeah, just nobody can use stealth.
Oh man, I spent that whole day just nobody can. All right. Dan Durrett, first moment of silence for comic legend Len Wein, creator of Wolverine and the Clixed Swamp Thing. Well, that was dark. Thanks. We're just smiling.
I was eating chocolate. Now you ruined chocolate for me forever.
All right. How would you use Red Leader competitively, or does Odin the Destroyer overshadow him? Are you kidding me? Red Leader is definitely a standout over Odin. One, Odin's got a big thing called a target on his head. He's giant, makes him very easy to hit, and his range is super short. You can definitely get a jump on him because he has to move in so close. You can pull off a single target pulse wave with him very simply. I just don't think he does it well enough. But the Red Leader just does that much more, in my opinion, because a power action double perplex to me is definitely worth it. I don't know. What are your thoughts there, Jay?
Yeah, an outwit now and a potential +3 perplex or +2 and +1, or even a -2 on something on theirs. He definitely has some potential with scientist keyword hasn't ever really been bad. I don't know how good it is these days. I haven't really looked at it, but
well, Tom did fairly well with his.
Oh yeah, that's true. Yeah, that's true.
So, yeah,
I don't know, but I guess if you're not running Jakeem and Peggy is just a terrible call, she's not a call-in anymore competitively.
Yeah, I'm even thinking of dropping Peggy on my team as it is. So,
what other prime are you like? Oh, maybe you're using brutal. No, that's not happening.
No.
So there's no reason not to maybe include him if it's appropriate for your team.
Yeah.
So.
All right, next up, Mike Bockley. Hey there, Metal Lab. Best of all luck to all you competing, and thanks to those who are judging in the Canada Cup. I can't think of anything major clicks-wise to ask, so instead I'll ask. I just saw the new It movie at the movies, and always wanted to know who is each of your favorite horror movie monster/villain. I always lean to Jason. Why, thank you. I mean, a little insulting. I'm not a horror movie villain, but I get I'm ugly because he's such a classic juggernaut of destruction, but also really like John Carpenter's The Thing for its psychological torture and mistrust. Keep on being awesome and peace. I'm going to be a little bit trolling with my initial answer as I actually think of my real answer for this because I'm a big horror movie fanatic, as it were. But my first trolly answer is The Cave in The Descent. That is the most scary horror villain I've ever seen in my life because it's just a cave. And all the stuff that happens to those ladies in that movie, I saw that movie in the theater and I was just holding on to I think I almost broke the seat. I was holding on to it so tight. It was insane how intense that movie is. And if you watch that movie in the dark, and if you are in any way like myself, I am super claustrophobic. If you're like me and very claustrophobic, you feel that. Just watching them and you put yourself in their place, it's like, ah! So yeah, The Cave in the Descent is the scariest thing. The monsters at the end of the Descent, whatever, man. I think that almost ruined the movie. But that cave, man, oh man, was that scary. But while I think of my real answer, Jay, do you have an actual horror villain that kind of stands out to you?
I'm not really a horror movie person at all. Monster villain. I don't know. I don't really watch I think the only horror movie series that I've really watched is the Saw movies. And the problem was the main guy. What?
Sometimes Jigsaw's a legitimate villain. I mean, just set up.
The only problem is that he was dead for over half of the movies.
But that's fine. That act that he does, and that's one of those things. Is like so many people that come up and who the actual character is. But as long as if they replaced Jigsaw, killed that initial character, did that actually change what was going on, or was it still like his replacement, as it were, still some psychopath putting people through these insane games? Like that's the important part, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And there you go. So yeah, Jay likes Jigsaw. But I do have to side with Mike Bockley on Jason Voorhees, not because we share a first name, interesting fact as it is, but when he became the villain, which interesting fact, he didn't become the villain until the second Friday the 13th movie. His mother was the villain in the first one. But as a villain, he's unstoppable. And the way people die to this lumbering zombie is absolutely insane bonkers. And he's an innovator of death. So cool. If you also, and I always like to plug this movie whenever I get a chance, and now we're talking about horror-like movies, Tucker and Dale versus Evil. Watch it. I'm saying nothing else beyond that. Just Tucker and Dale versus Evil. Go watch that movie. All right. That said, we move now to the chat. If you are live with us in the chat, put in capital letters question. We'll catch it in there. There's not a whole lot of people talking right now. And we do have a question for Mr. Tyler Murrin. I know this is probably a noob question, but like super strength, what other passive powers work with hypersonic? Precision strike? Thanks, guys. As always, a great show. So Tyler, under the new rules, super strength doesn't quite work the way it used to with hypersonic. You can still be carrying the object while you're hypersonic speeding. You can pick it up along the way, but you can't use it as part of an object attack during your hypersonic speed. That's just not an option. You can only make attacks, strict attacks, because of the way that object attacks now work. There are specific close or range capital letter actions, and you won't be able to perform those during a move action or during the hypersonic action. That said, precision strike, as you mentioned, does still trigger because its requirement is just targeting a single character with an attack, and steel energy will still work because you're just targeting a single character with a close combat. They don't require specific close or range actions. Outside of that, Jay, do you have anything to add there? Or?
I mean, I would say Force Blast and Super Strength with the passive knockback.
Oh, the passive knockback on Super Strength does work. Yes, that's correct.
I think that's pretty much it now, I think, because they really were like, it's almost like they were like, how many combos are there? There are too many. Make less combos, please.
It's less so much combos is like combinations of powers. Like I use the word combo as like I take this figure and do this with this figure and 1,000 things happen. Whereas like a combination of powers is just on a single dial. What can I do with this? And that's just as is, right? So
yeah.
So yeah, I understand a lot of why they messed with hypersonic the way they did. Especially like in general, just the way they kind of made objects work now works and makes sense to me a lot more. I do love also the lack of complication in bringing objects to the game now. Want to bring 3 heavies? Bring 3 heavies. Want to bring 3 lights? Bring 3 lights. Want to bring none? Bring none. Whatever. That's cool. I'm cool with that. And all right. That's about it. I mean, not much going on in the chat right now. Jay, anything you want to mention before we plug our sponsors?
Canada Cup's going to be fun. I was looking back at the pictures from last year, and then we had some really good judges then. We had good attendance. We had over 30 people.
Yes, definitely. No, we had like 31 last year.
Oh yeah.
Canada Cup, I believe it was.
Exactly. Yeah. So with the new rule book and with only 2 judges, please be nice to us because we know the rules about as well as everybody else, because there's a lot of new stuff. and it's going to be hard for everybody. So try and be courteous with your opponents. Be nice to your opponents. Be nice to your judges because I'm biased, and we're going to have a good time.
Yeah, I can't stress that part enough, guys. Be patient with judges for a little while. In some cases, we do need win questions, and they're going to have to use their best judgment and best ability to read in order to understand how powers work. And, you know, in the case of the enchanters that we just saw, some things aren't really laid out as well as we think. Sometimes they went a little too simple on what was going on. So,
yeah, this is why the hierarchy of rules goes judge at the event, then everything else.
Yeah,
because there's only so much a person can do, and also you don't want to have to waste time with us looking up stuff because it's a time-based game.
Time out of your game. Out of your game. Yeah. And without further ado, guys, I want to thank our patrons. You guys check patreon.com/Clixed. You do a lot. You help us a lot, and it's really been great to have you guys as part of our sponsorship team, as it were. Also, guys, before we get into the major sponsors, we're bridging on the edge of 2,500 subscribers, which is going to be awesome. I think last check, let me just give it a quick look-see, as it were. We are currently sitting at 2,432 subscribers. If you're not currently subscribed, click that subscribe button. It helps come to go around, kind of help the channel along, as it were. And, you know, every little bit helps. If you're subscribed, etc., it goes a long way towards YouTube supporting us as well. As well, I'm going to mention one of our goals coming up for the Patreon is I'm going to hit a certain number per month, and I'm just going to take the YouTube advertising out. So that's it's going to be one of our goals for the Patreon very soon. So just want to let everybody know that it's going to be a fan-supported and direct sponsor-supported channel, and we're going to lose the YouTube advertising altogether. It goes a long way for everybody. You guys don't have to deal with their ads. You just have to deal with our lovely voices talking ads. But as well, guys, if you want to check us out, where we're going to be this Saturday, September 16th, we'll be at the Rock Canada Cup at 401 Games, 518 Yonge Street in Toronto. We'll be there at 11 a.m. filling out our army sheets, and at 12 playing the game. And, of course, check out the pricing that they have. This is, of course, your standard Super Qualifier pricing, along with whatever additional prizes they may have. I'm not 100% sure what they have. That'll be at the venue in the least. We're also brought to you in part by hcrealms.com. This is the place to be when you're coming to HeroClix, guys. It's got the forums is where the conversation is happening. These articles are always kind of neat little fluff pieces, as well as updates from the Rock. We also have the Rock page itself. Keep up to date with your local Rock events, anything that's coming up. They have an update with the state and provincial championships results. The unit section is the supreme tool in keeping track of your teams and your collections. You can use this to track the figures you have, the figures you're using on the team. You might happen to build your team while you're here. This looks like an interesting team I might use for Canada Cup. I'm not sure. But it's also done all the math for me. I can add and remove things from this, and it goes a long way towards helping you not have to siphon through cards and so on. There's also trading, a chat, all kinds of groups you can be a part of, blogs. There's also a shop. Click on the shop, put in the coupon code MARRIED for 10% off of your purchase. And, of course, there's your list if you want to check out who won what at the Rock states and provincials this year. As well, check us out. Check out majesticccg.com/apex-insiders. This is the source of the brain trust of HeroClix. Some of the great minds in this game submit articles. I am currently working on a piece right now. Jay has recently had a Rock US Cup edition of why don't I play this piece, because the Rock US Cup was on that format we were talking about last week, which is an interesting Rock Silver Age format that includes all things with Oreo bases from Superman and up. $3 a month, access to this site, and you get some of the top brains helping you out, think like them, sharing their strategies, sharing their teams, and so on and so forth. Amber very recently put a massive rules change article covering all kinds of things that you need to know going into changes of the game. I am working on keeping your headspace in the game and what to think about, how to adapt to this brand new rules, as it were. And of course, I'm working on that as I eventually get off this show. But I want to thank Jay for joining us. Thank our patrons. Thank anybody who's watching right now. Thank you for watching in the archives. It's been a great episode. I'm really looking forward to the Canada Cup. Super excited to get some more competitive play under these new rules, and hopefully things go well, regardless of how I place. So without further ado, guys, if you are planning on going to the Canada Cup this Saturday at 401 Games, 518 Yonge Street in Toronto, be sure to get some practice in, because it's one of those more important things is practice
makes
your
team
better. Have a good night, everybody.